Welcome back. Police are racing against the clock to make arrests following the deadly mass shooting in Colenso in KwaZulu-Natal over the weekend. Now, on Sunday, police gave themselves 72 hours to make a breakthrough in that case. 11 people were shot dead and a number of others were wounded when their taxi was ambushed, returning from a funeral of a taxi boss. We understand that death toll now sits at 12, with another person having succumbed to their injuries in hospital. Now, just yesterday, another taxi owner was gunned down in broad daylight in Alexandra in Johannesburg. Let's get you some perspective on the story now. We're joined by Selby Qinwa from the Center for the Study of Violence and Reconciliation. Thanks very much, Selby, for coming into studio.
My pleasure.
I mean, that incident over the weekend, it was so completely shocking. Just seeing visuals of that taxi, how it's riddled with bullets. What's your take on that level of violence? It certainly must be unprecedented.
And unfortunately, this also demonstrates how, as a nation, we're so wounded. The taxi violence is but one, a macrocosm of what has been happening with regards to how violent protests, for an example, you know, would emanate, project themselves. You know, when people are killing each other. You know, the last time when I was here, there was a man who was killed at his home. So it shows how, as a nation, we're so wounded, and how, as a nation, we're unable to negotiate whenever we've got, differences. That's the general statement. You know, you look at political killings, it's the same modus operandi. People kill each other. You look at service delivery protest, where communities have got grievances with regards to services. In many instances, the Tabani case is a case in point. How, as a nation, we're so violent whenever we've got challenges in how to resolve those, to face up with those challenges. So in this instance as well, 17 people were from the funeral on a taxi. It shows how even the sector itself is so unregulated. How a challenge, for an example, that we must be able to, as a country, must speak to, is how do we have to agree with a loose association. So because part of the challenge is when you have a voluntary people engaging amongst themselves and say, we're going to form this association, and there's no standard is binding them. So there should be some kind of legal framework that which must be able to, to drive the transportation sector, in this case, the taxi sector. That's another thing. But the other thing that also speaks to the context or the historical perspective is how we have tried as a country to democratize the sector itself, but have failed to transform it, to be at par with the modern, motor industry. So those are some of the things that we need to be able to deal with. Taxi industries these are association of people, no regulations. People will fight around. For routes. Yeah. Both at the district and the provincial level as well as at the national level. So there's some kind of mafia style for you to succeed there.
And it needs some sort of regulation.
It needs some regulation. Police have said we need to give them 72 hours. As we speak, no one has been arrested yet. So we'll talk about this thing today. Tomorrow we'll have forgotten about it, and it's going to continue. Today, as we speak, in Alexandra, I was from Ivory Park. As we speak, roads are closed there. People are shooting each other for the very same issue, routes. Yeah. So there's some kind of regulation that is required there.
Selby, I want to talk to you about KwaZulu-Natal in particular.
Yes.
The site of this shooting that took place over the weekend. The province itself has been the scene of a lot of violence involving guns, yes. A lot of political violence. What is it about KwaZulu-Natal that has it so polarized, specifically around politics?
The problem with KwaZulu-Natal is that it's so fluid with regards to the politics in that province. And as such, firstly, you must understand that with regards to the resources, it's mostly rural. So where resources are geared towards to alleviate poverty is in the rural areas, and therefore that's where people will start, trying to fight around that. So that's where the problem lies, is that one is rural, but secondly, because of its fluidity, so nobody wants to take responsibility except, allow some of the criminal elements, to creep in. You look at how, for an example, even when there are political contestation, how people are taking to courts and how the response thereof. Either a person has been killed. I mean, we're from Mankaka's case, for an example. He was trying to be, to be a whistleblower. He has been, and so many people, and these are in the rural areas, by the way. And therefore, I'm saying one of the things that the challenge that are faced by the province is that when the government is trying to, bring in services, but those are in a political leadership, they want to fight for those resources, little as they may be. And the second thing is that in KwaZulu-Natal, is that you've got, when I spoke about this, the fluidity of the province, is that you've got IFP, you've got ANC, you've got DA, you've got EFF, and so forth and so on. So the environment itself, the people there, they are able to vote on their feet. So if you deliver, I need to use that as a vehicle for ascension to power. But if I don't deliver, for me to be able to ensure that you don't deliver, perhaps one of the tools that they're using is to kill each other.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much for coming in and giving us your perspective. Selby Klenoy is from the Center for the Study of Violence and Reconciliation. Just speaking to us as those 72 hours that police had given themselves to make an arrest in this mass shooting over the weekend is now running out. No arrests have been made. That death toll, which was at 11 over the weekend, now sitting at 12, with another person succumbing to their injuries in hospital. Now, in